Hey guys, hope you're doing all right. Happy Tuesday. It's kind of wild to think that we've been in the quarantine for another week, but here we are. And I think for a lot of people, this is one of those times where we start to get really frustrated. I don't know about you, but over the past week or so, I've found kind of my emotions being continually tested over and over and over again. And I've started to find that it's becoming increasingly easier to kind of snap or get frustrated with my wife or my boys, especially when my boys are running around screaming poop jokes all the time when I'm on phone calls, things like that. It just doesn't really work. And it's kind of funny. There have been several moments over the past few weeks where I've just felt like I'm starting to hit my ceiling. Like I've just about had enough of this, but just about enough that I just can't take it anymore. And it started reminding me of when I was a freshman in college. And in that time, I moved all the way from here in the Dallas area to this little town in Arkansas called Arkadelphia. And Arkadelphia was the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was just like one of the most random places I think I've ever been in. And that was where I was living, in this little town of 10,000 where there were no Starbucks, there were no movie theaters. It seemed like there was nothing to do. All of my family and friends that I grew up with were back here or they were out at their own colleges. And I just felt alone. And when I got into about my second semester of my freshman year of college, I really started to kind of head into a bad place. Like I was just not doing very well. And at the time, I was taking this class called Spiritual Formation from one of my favorite professors, this guy named Dr. Scott Duvall. And the whole class was all about like how we form and how we grow spiritually. And one week we were talking about the issue of serving others. We were talking about the issue of serving in the church. And there was this statement that Dr. Duvall made that I remember it's stuck with me all these years. He said, the best way to get over yourself is simply to serve others. And he said, so if you're finding yourself depressed, you're finding yourself emotionally not in a really healthy place, you're finding yourself getting frustrated with other people really often, it feels like you're getting ready to snap. He said, guess what? It's time to serve. It's time to dig in. And this is so counter to so much of what we hear, right? Like there's all these conversations online all the time about self-care. And usually that means like taking time for yourself. If you're a girl, it means like going out and getting your nails done, or it means watching a movie or blowing everyone else off. And honestly, there's a place for that and it's important, but sometimes we just take that completely out of context. And when I say sometimes, I mean most of the times we take that out of context. And the reality is, sometimes we don't need to be focusing more on ourselves. We need to be focusing less on ourselves. And sometimes that emotional insecurity and that emotional unhealthiness comes from not focusing enough on other people and focusing too much on ourselves, of spending too much time focusing on that self care thing versus spending time focusing on others. And I love this passage in Romans 12 where Paul is talking to the Roman church and he gives them this really strong command. He says, starting in verse 9, he says, love must be sincere. He says, hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Then he goes on. He says, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. And notice how this whole paragraph is all about how to serve others and all about the importance of digging in and serving more and serving deeper and focusing more on the needs of others than the needs of yourselves. And I think about these times when we're in these moments of frustration, when we're emotionally not really healthy, and all this time that we try thinking about doing more self-care and focusing more on ourselves, when in reality, you look at what's being said here, we need to be serving more. And the thing is, it's normal right now to be feeling frustration with the people you're living with. If you've been with your family now for almost 3 weeks, it's normal if you get really frustrated with your parents. It's normal if you get really frustrated with your siblings. We can't get out. We can't see our friends. It's hard to recharge the way we emotionally recharge. And all of that's normal. But one of the things that God has been trying to kind of show me, it feels like in the past week, is that importance of making sure I'm continually focusing on the needs of others. Because here's the reality, while you may be feeling frustrated, while you may be struggling, I guarantee you that your family who's with you is struggling just as much. There are other people who right now are completely alone. They don't live with anyone. So all this time they're completely isolated. You've got families right now in other parts of our country that when that number of dead people from coronavirus ticks upward, it's not a number to them. There's a face, there's a name with that because they just buried a loved one. And there are people who are right now scared out of their minds because their immune systems are compromised. And if they get sick, they're going to die. And they know it. And those people who are in even worse situations than you, they need your focus. They need your attention. And the worst thing you could do is be so focused on yourself that you're kind of walling everyone off because you're just all about what you need and all about what you want and all about, the fact that you're not getting what you need and what you want. And so I would encourage you this week, start digging in and serving. It can be as simple as sending a text message to a friend who you know is maybe their parents are getting divorced and they're all stuck in the same house together right now. Or maybe you got a friend who like broke up with their boyfriend or their girlfriend right before all this happened and now they're feeling even more lonely than they used to be. Or how about your friends who are seniors right now and right now aren't going to be going to prom and aren't going to be getting to go to their graduation that they've been dreaming of for all these years? And maybe it's as simple as just sending a text message to those people, just encouraging them, just building them up. And then at home, man, dig in. How about with the dishes with your parents? Take a moment to come and give them a hug or something like that. My 8-year-old, Caleb, who's been driving me crazy at various points, I'll tell you, it's really funny. He can go from like completely like losing his mind, crying because he's not getting some small thing that he wants, to just coming over and giving me a hug or giving my wife, Holly, a hug. And I'll tell you, it's just this sweet little moment where I can tell he's thinking about us. And I can't tell you how much that little thing brightens my day. But man, maybe you need to do that. Maybe you need to, I don't know, take your brother or your sister out for a drive or something like that. But start focusing on what others need more than what you need. And the reality is, you're going to start to notice that frustration and that anxiety and that loneliness and some of the things that you're dealing with right now are going to start to abate as the struggles that other people are dealing with come into fuller view. And so I encourage you, dig in. Let your love be sincere, as Paul's talking about here. Rejoice with those who are rejoicing, mourn with those who are mourning, live in harmony with one another, and don't be proud. And that would be my biggest thing to you. And so I would say, if you're struggling right now, I'm going to give you a really harsh truth. Maybe you just need to get over yourself. And if that's the case, it's time to start serving the other people around you. I am going to be on Facebook all day. I'm working all day. I'll have this open. I would love to talk to you if you're struggling with some of this stuff right now, or maybe God gives you some kind of idea of something you want to do to serve others. Then comment about it. Tell me about it, and I will be there and I will respond. And I hope you'll respond to others as well in the process. Anyway, I hope you're doing all right. Hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. I'll see you online.